Now, why don't we begin this morning by your telling us a bit about your background in public transportation and about the Jacksonville Transportation Authority.
Okay, well, it's great to talk with you, Doug. Just in terms of my background with public transportation, I've been in the business a little over 36 years now, and started my career as a train conductor with the New York City Transit System, and had an opportunity to move rather rapidly because of a change in leadership that was occurring at the time, and some opportunities to really advance my career just happened to pop up. So it was great timing for me in terms of my development and becoming a superintendent nearly 9 years after I started as a train conductor. I left New York City Transit and went to the Bay Area, worked for the BART system from 1992 to 1997. And that was a really great opportunity to travel across the country and see a totally different new transit system as compared to the New York City transit system, which was obviously a much older system. Soon after, right after 1997, I went to MARTA, the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority, as their Senior VP of Operations, eventually advanced to Executive Vice President and became their General Manager in 2000. And very exciting career opportunity for me, and I served as their General Manager for 5 years, General Manager and CEO. And then was recruited to the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Authority in 2006, and worked there for 5.5 years, and then back to, I guess, the East Coast, working for the Jacksonville Transportation Authority. I've been now the CEO of the JTA. In December will make 5 years. Unique thing about the JTA is that in addition to operating public transportation, we also build roads and bridges. Our actual DNA is from being an expressway authority that assumed responsibility for the public transit operation. And I did not mention, in terms of the San Francisco MTA, there they have a top-to-bottom, or I would say curb-to-curb transportation authority there, because in addition to the public transportation system, the Muni system, you're responsible for biking, pedestrians, parking, both on-street and off-street parking, as well as administering taxis. So a great deal of transportation, broad transportation experience over the years, but primarily in public transit. I have a family, this is sort of a family business for me. My father served as a high-ranking executive with the New York City Transit System. I have a sister who works there now as a superintendent in their subway division. My daughter works for the MARTA system in their rail car maintenance area, and my wife is a top-level executive with one of the transit supportive technology companies. So transportation is all around me.
It is certainly a family business. You bring rich experience to our topic today, so I'm anxious to jump into it. You've said on more than one occasion, Nat, that one of your top priorities as APTA's new chair is helping senior executives, what we call CEO-Aspirants, prepare to take the helm in a transportation authority. Why do you feel so strongly about this issue?
Well, I think the success of transit CEOs are key to, I think, the improvement and the quality of life for the communities that we serve in terms of public transportation. And, I think the development of CEOs and executive level staff is critical, and our communities depend on it. And, I have that opportunity every day to impact the quality of life of our citizens here in Jacksonville and Northeast Florida. And it's largely based on the experiences that I developed over the years, good decisions, bad decisions, different environments, different challenges, and the ability to take those experiences and share them with other individuals so that they can do their jobs that much better is critical, and it's really something that I value a great deal. And I think it's going to be even more challenging going into the future as it relates to just the changing dynamics as it relates to our customers' needs and desires, and technology and its impacts in terms of how we do our business today will clearly not be the way we will do business into the future, as well as other, I guess you would call, competitors into our space in terms of aggregating transportation type trips, and the TNCs that are now developing and providing, shared mobility options for our communities. So I think it's critical in terms of development of CEOs. I benefited from mentors and people that I idolized or actually watched develop their careers and decisions they made over the years, and I feel that that's something that in terms of my seat as the chair of APTA, I have an opportunity and responsibility to deliver back. I feel one of my proudest achievements are those CEOs that I feel I had some hand in their development over the years, and now they're doing fantastic jobs in their communities. The people who come to mind are Ken McDonald in Long Beach. Then you have Clinton Forbes, who's in Palm Tran here in Florida, and Henry Lee, who was recently my CFO here in Jacksonville and has had a fantastic year as the CEO in Sacramento. So, it's those success stories that I get the most satisfaction out of, and I think there's opportunity for more development in the upcoming year.
Now, based on your experience, and certainly you have a lot of it, what would you say CEO aspirants need to know? What knowledge do they need to have to succeed as a transit CEO?
Well, I think there's a certain level of obviously technical knowledge and experience that they need to have, and so you do need to understand the industry and understand how the industry works, everything from operations to maintenance to budgeting, finance, customer service, all of those technical type skills. There needs to be some, I think, well-developed knowledge in those areas. Not saying that you have to be an expert in those areas, but to have some knowledge of it and its impacts across the organization and the impacts in terms of ultimately your customer service and what you're doing on a daily basis. But there are some things that I think aspirants to become a CEO, I think that you start off with having the passion to be a CEO. It's a very tough job, and you just on a daily basis, that passion and that drive is what's going to sustain you in terms of making tough decisions and sustain you in terms of challenging problems and issues that you need to deal with. And so with that, I'd start off with passion. I think individual in terms of knowledge needs to understand the dynamics of working in a political environment and working for elected boards in some cases, appointed boards, and boards that are appointed by elected officials, and understanding the dynamics of governance and how to properly manage elected officials as well as appointed officials that provide oversight to your organization. I think in terms of just, I think strategic planning, being able to start first with developing a very aggressive and bold vision, and being able to articulate that vision at various different levels, elected officials, government officials, to your board, to your employees, to stakeholders in your community, to be able to create this vision and be able to communicate it across all levels, and then to be able to have measurable outcomes that you can drive your organization to and set into motion, actions or tasks into motion to achieve those goals and objectives, and a measurement system to ensure that you're on task, to ensure that you're delivering these goals and objectives on time, so you ultimately reach this strategic plan and ultimately your strategic plan initiatives and goals, and ultimately achieving your vision for the organization and for your community. But I cannot neglect, public relations, how important that is in managing the media, particularly in today's environment where beyond the print media and our television media that I had to deal with in the early stages of my career as a CEO, now just managing Twitter and managing Facebook and the myriad of different social media platforms that provide real-time analysis and information regarding your organization's performance. And it also provides real-time information to your customers, and that's what they expect. And so just having, I think, appreciation and aptitude or some experience as it relates to managing social media and communications and public relations.
Yeah,
and so I think that, I could go on and on and on, but I think those are probably the highlighted issues that I think a CEO needs to be familiar with. Obviously, finance, from a funding standpoint, we all are on, very tight budget and constraints, and we have to find ways to be more creative to control costs, and in some cases, find ways to increase revenue. And so I think being very creative and very financially astute is critical also.
Where would you place governance and the board CEO partnership? I'm assuming that'd be pretty high.
Yeah, that would be number one. That would be number one for me. My relationships with my board of directors is the most critical relationship as a CEO, and how to properly manage that dynamic. And I guess in this case now, I've worked for 3 different organizations, different governance structures, different personalities, from a 19-member board at MARTA to a 7-member board here in Jacksonville, state appointees, city appointees, ex officio appointees. I've pretty much seen them all, and just managing those relationships on a daily basis, weekly and monthly basis are critical. I have over the years developed certain systems that has now allowed me to be extremely responsive to my board, to have an open ear to their interests, their perspectives on particular issues, and those systems permit me to really leverage and maximize their involvement, not managing the authority on a day-to-day basis. However, having a very important role in helping us develop vision and strategic responses to critical issues, and as well as developing the vision for the organization. In terms of practices, I meet with my board one-on-one once a month, and either it's in their office or here at the offices at the JTA, and that's used as a update on what's happening with the organization, to listen and to see what are their concerns as it relates to the agency, and more importantly, help to develop our board agenda and ensure that by the time we get to our board meeting, their questions, concerns, and thoughts are all reflected in the way that we perform as the agency. But that communication and coordination with the board of directors are critical. I do listen to this blog quite often to see what my peers are doing related to board governance. I think the blog that you're running, Doug, is just critical to help us nuance and know how to deal with changing situations with board members and things of that nature.
Well, I'm delighted, Nap, that you find Board Savvy Transit CEO, our blog, a useful resource. Of course, that's what we always hope. Are there any attributes, particularly personality kinds of things, that you think are important that CEO-Aspirants should pay attention to and perhaps even cultivate? You mentioned passion. Are there any others you want to mention?
Over time, I've sort of done an inventory and developed what I believe are leadership characteristics that I think any CEO or executive level type manager, and whether it's public transit or it's any other type of organization that you're leading at a very high level, at executive level. And I'm just going to run through them real quick, and whatever one kind of pops into mind for further discussion, I could get into that. But clearly, I think leadership characteristic is accountability. Someone who feels accountable for the actions that are undertaken, and the buck stops with them. They have to be a change agent in this day and time, and be able to effectively implement change in a large organization, and be able to move their organization quickly to changing environments and times. Courageous, it goes without saying. You have to be somewhat courageous to hold these types of positions, and know that quite often the decisions that you make may not be the most popular decision, but you cannot be fearful in terms of decision making and paralyzed by fear. Critical thinker, and be able to really parse difficult situations and think through. Have a very well thought out process in terms of making decisions, and being able to examine a lot of data and critically think through solutions. Customer focused, it goes without saying. We're here to serve our customers, and quite often our customers are not just our passengers. It's the businesses that are supported by our riders. It's the total economic fabric or system in our communities, and what we bring to the table from a customer or stakeholder focus is important. Engaged, and when engaged in terms of all activities that are going on within the organization, and that employees feel that you're appreciating the work that they're doing, you're involved in the work that they're doing, you're knowledgeable of the work that they're doing, so you're engaged, you're involved, you're visible. Good communicator, being able to articulate a message to various different groups, be it your top executives and managers, or your frontline personnel, or your riders and business leaders, and being able to tailor a message and be able to communicate at various different levels to various different audiences. High energy. It takes a lot of energy to do these jobs, and there's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and you have to be on your toes, and you have to be energetic, and I think as your energy goes, your organization energy is a reflective of that. Innovative. Innovative problem solving is the key to, I think, success, especially going in the future. Inspirational. You have to be able to inspire people. You have to, speak about a vision that is far greater and bigger than what they're doing on an everyday basis, and be able to communicate to your team that how their activities collectively help achieve a much greater goal than that bus traveling up and down the street, that it's much bigger in terms of its impact to our community and what it means for people's lives. Strategic thinker, got to do the long-term planning and strategic thinking, so you're ahead of what may be facing your organization coming in the future, be it a funding issue or a technical issue, infrastructure issue, funding issues. You just need to be able to strategically think through those issues and see things well before they occur. And then you have to be a team player and collaborative. And if you emulate those types of or display those types of behaviors, it's infectious to your organization. They will truly operate as a team, especially when the CEO encourages that and rewards that, and then calls out those times when we're not working well as a team and not communicating well as a team. The CEO should be the first person out the box to call that out and to improve your performance in that area. And that also goes outside of the organization, and that goes with your elected officials in your city Department of Planning and Public Works, and making sure, and your local, your Department of Transportation, your MPO, making sure that you have good collaborative team effort in terms of projects and initiatives and activities. And so we tend to here at the JTA over-communicate and emphasize that coordination and teamwork. So I know that was pretty lengthy, Doug, but the idea is over, I guess, 36 years, these are the 12 identified leadership characteristics that one, I try to live by, and more importantly, we actually use here at the JTA in terms of recruitment and identifying who will be the leaders of this organization.
My gosh, Nat, I think you covered the waterfront. If we combine these character traits with the technical knowledge you've identified, I think over the past few minutes you've almost designed a curriculum for CEO-Aspirants.
Well, I think, Doug, it does no one any good if it's sitting here on this interview. I think the good thing the great thing that's happening is by your development of this blog, this type of information that, when I was a new CEO, I think is valuable to you in terms of developing your career, and those of us who have had an opportunity to develop over the years and learn what works and what doesn't work, we have an obligation and a responsibility to share that with our peers.
Well, you've certainly made a handsome contribution to our blog, Nat, which I really appreciate. Well, Nat Ford, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk about this extremely important subject for Board Savvy Transit, CEO.com. I know your schedule, so I know it's no small thing to spend half an hour with me on the phone, so thanks much. And I want to wish you every success as APTA's new chair. And I know it's going to be a real challenge, but with all your other responsibilities, and knowing you, you're going to be highly successful. So good luck with that. Have a great day, and thanks again for talking with me for Board Savvy Transit, CEO.com. Take care.